Okay, make a motion to go into executive session. For appointment of a particular person.
Supervisor Brody?
Yes.
Councilperson Doyle?
Yes.
Kateris?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Reveler?
Yes.
And welcome to the town board meeting and public hearing, Thursday, February 16th. Please rise and salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Emergency exits are behind the town attorney and also the door you came in. Roll, please.
Supervisor Brody?
Yes, here.
Councilpersons Doyle? Here. Kateris?
Here.
Blackman?
Here.
Reveler?
Here.
Okay, make a motion to open the public hearing for alternative veteran exception.
Second.
Supervisor Brody?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Kateris?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Reveler?
Yes.
Are there any comments on the alternative veteran exemption?
Other comment?
On the
No.
alternative veteran exemption, with public hearing.
Donna, did you want to say anything, or?
If you would like me to, just...
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, just at the,
Oh, I have to go to the podium. Excuse me. All right.
just
Very formal
introduce
here.
yourself and,
Hello, all. I'm Donna DePippo, the assessor for the town. There are a couple of proposals in for the exemptions. One of them is the alternative veteran, which is what they're discussing now, right?
yes.
Alternative. The limits before were 27, 45, and 90 respectively for the different levels. And now for 2023 and 24, they're proposing 45, 75, and 150. The county also has already done that.
I'm sorry, those numbers are are
They're-
thousands of...
They're the threshold.
Yeah, they're
That's
actually,
Yes.
it's based on a cap. So it would be 15% or a cap of.
Okay,
So the first number would be 45,000.
got it.
Second would be 75 being combat. So you have wartime, which is your first number, and then combat.
Yep.
And then disability would be the third number, and that's capping at 150. And in 2025, they will up it one more time to 54,000 as a cap, 90,000 as a cap, and 180 on the alternative. Do you want me to go over the other ones while I'm up here, or
No.
one at a time?
One at a time.
Okay.
And just to be clear, because I didn't know this, the alternative veteran exemption is basically all veterans, independent of the Cold War veterans?
It's during certain periods of the war, so it is more, that's why they opened up the Cold War. So for years, they had periods of war where people would qualify, and outside of those periods of war, they would not. And then maybe 10 years ago, I'm not really quite sure, maybe 13 years ago, they came out with Cold War.
Bless you.
Which is basically open now to all veterans. It's a
Oh,
different,
I see.
It's a different level, and that is the next level that we would talk about.
Got it,
But yeah, so now everyone is covered.
got it, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, is there any other public comment about the alternative veteran exemption? I make a motion to close the public hearing for alternative veteran exemption.
Second.
Supervisor Brody?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Kateris?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes?
Reveler?
Yes.
Make a motion to open the public hearing for Cold War veteran exemption.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Brody?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Kateris?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes?
Reveler?
Yes.
Did you get it?
Okay, Cold War?
The Cold War veterans,
Those were the days.
the prior limits were a cap of 12,000 and a disability cap of 40,000. Because it's Cold War, there's no combat category. They're going to raise those limits for 2023 and 2024 to a cap of $45,000, and the disability would be capped at $150,000. And then in 2025, they will raise it one more time to $54,000 with a disability cap of $180,000. And like I said, currently now it's at $12,000 and $40,000. And the county has also already approved these limits.
Is there any other public comment about the Cold War veteran exemption? No, then I make a motion to close the public hearing for Cold War veteran exemption.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Remillard?
Yes.
I make a motion to open the public hearing for senior exemption.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Remillard?
Yes.
Senior exemption?
The senior exemption scale, for low-income senior citizens, it's based on a scale that would give a senior 5% to 50% off, depending upon their income. In prior years, for many years actually, I believe it was 2007, if I'm not mistaken, when the last scale was approved. And then New York State actually just gave us a new scale if we wanted to approve a new scale. So the prior scale was between $24,000 with a cap of $32,400, and the current scale will be between $33,999 and $42,399. And the higher, the $42,399 would be for a 5% savings, and then the lower amount that you would make would be at the 5% or anywhere in between the 5 and 50. So the scale will be basically more in line with the cost of living and so forth that's gone on since 2007.
Great.
Is there any other public comment on senior exemption?
Don't look at me that way, Charlie.
Make a motion to close the public hearing for senior exemption.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Remillard?
Yes.
Okay, make a motion to return to regular meeting.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Remillard?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donna.
Public comment?
Sharon?
Sharon?
Sharon. Oh, no, Sharon. She's.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm Sharon Kroger, the local storekeeper, and I'm back for a PS. In other words, what I shared with you last meeting, I felt was somewhat inadequate because we were trying to explain the scope of something, and frankly, the reporter in the Millerton News caught it in one or two sentences a lot better than I had, because he said the scope of these two committees are totally different, and that's basically what I'm saying, but here's your picture, because I think you need the visual on it. Tell me what angle I need to give this to you.
Straight down.
There?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So basically what I was trying to say 2 weeks ago was that if you have a total town, and most of your town committees do follow that model, that they're total town committees. The water committee that deals with the specific people who live in the water district, that blue circle, that's what we're talking about. So the constituency is totally different, and the law that goes with it is totally different, because when the Thompson family gave that to the town, basically they were putting it in the hands of the town board, but they were also saying, let the people who live there help to advise you, and that is where that advisory board came in, and it's in the law, and it's in the precedent, and that's what's supposed to happen. So it's not okay to just say, well, nobody wants to volunteer right now. You got to worry about how those folks can get busy and help the board do what they have to do. So and for example, if the Tally-Ho private water system were to be given to the town, you would be dealing with just the constituency that uses it. The other one that's possible someday, where the old state school was, there's a terrific well that could enable a lot of people to drink water. And that, again, is a separate one, doesn't belong to the town. But someday, you might have Water District Number 1, Water District Number 2, and Water District Number 3. So you don't want to talk about how that's going to be combined with wastewater for the whole town, because it's a whole different kind of function. And it isn't necessarily synonymous with sewers, as it would be in some other location. So that's what I was trying to say, but I gave you the pictures here this time in order that you could.
That's clearer, thank you.
Okay,
Have
thank
you
you.
looked at the maps, though? The water district and the sewer district pretty much overlap. I mean, there's a few places that
You're
don't.
confusing the sewer district with what?
I'm sorry, water and wastewater district,
That-
sewer
that-
and the water district.
Actually,
Worrying
Sharon, a
about-
letter has gone out to all the people in the water district informing them that members are needed
I'm glad.
for for members of the water district to be on a water committee.
That's very helpful.
And that letter has already gone out.
That's very nice. I went up on the mountain and I talked to people in each section of the district, and I said, please sit down with your neighbors and come up with some candidates and answer the town board and make a list of folks who can, they can take turns doing it. It doesn't have to be onerous, but there's challenges coming up and they need to be involved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
Good evening, Paul Winters. So back in May or June, I stepped up here to this podium and I asked the town to follow up with the R&R concerning all of their runoff and stuff going into the stream next door, right next to their property, that somehow or another, I still don't understand how they got it zoned to put a concrete plant right next to a stream that then runs underneath 22 and feeds into Wassaic Park, or Wassaic Creek. So back finally in November, DEC went up and gave them a fine, basically. Told them that they had to get some stuff completed within a certain amount of time by November. And then they gave them a final date of February 24, 2023. That's coming up just here shortly. So I drive by there every day. Nothing has changed. All the stuff is still running out into the road. It's going into the stream, and it's polluting our water system. I mean, we're trying to increase activities for the residents, so trout fishing. Can't go trout fishing if the stream is dead. So I implore this town board to do something about it.
There's nothing we can do right now because it's in the DEC's hands, and once they make a ruling, then we will follow suit.
But this town approved the zoning to put the plant there in the first place. And they gave them a special zoning to put that there. I don't think it should have ever been given in the first place, honestly.
Well, you're entitled to your opinion, but the zoning and the planning department and whoever handled this, apparently begged to differ. Now, just because you put a business there doesn't mean that you can look into the future and see what they're going to do wrong. So the DEC, this was given to the DEC, they're working on it, the town will work with the DEC to do any follow-up we need to do on our end.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. The final thing is, I received the email from Mr. Leo Blackman to everybody here concerning about purchasing our property. So you guys know this property over here that we're looking to put the sewer. I know Mr. Charlie Miller has kind of came up with this idea that seems a little creative, but at the end of the day, it's a smart move. If we take these funds and combine them together and purchase this property now, because then it serves two purposes, right? We get a place where we can create some affordable housing, and then if we do separate the land and the county does claw back some of the money, they're only going to claw back the price of the land that's unimproved. So the most expensive part of the land is where the house sits. So that stays within, affordable housing, then the piece they claw back. So at the worst, we're looking at maybe buying a piece of land for a future sewer for $25,000. That's a pretty damn good deal.
If you get the grant.
sorry?
That's not a given.
I didn't hear you.
If we get the grant.
If you get the grant.
If you get the grant. I'm pretty sure that the county wants to work with the town. If it does
It doesn't
happen, right?
mean they don't want to work with the town, but the committee hasn't even met yet. Who makes that decision?
All right, well, I'm just imploring you guys to take strong consideration to Mr. Miller's plan. I think it's a good idea at the end of the day. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
She's
No.
not commenting. Yeah, no, she's not.
I can't believe Mr. Nelligan is here and doesn't have public
He
comment.
does, it's just,
spoken up.
Yes, for some reason, I think it's the weather. I came out of hibernation. I'm sorry. I apologize ahead of time because I know I'm going to get everybody upset. This is my job. Okay.
No.
There are a couple things I'd like to read into the record. One is 3 small passages from Chapter 119, Water Ordinance.
Excuse me?
Chapter 119, the Water Ordinance that you passed 4 years ago.
Okay.
Water Ordinance. Just want to read those into the record. This is for you, Damien. Okay, 119, you can go check it on the computer or pull it up right now while I'm talking like you crazy people do all the time on your phones. 119-3, definitions and word usage. Number 1 refers to tense in the things and plurals. I don't deal with that. Number 2, shall is mandatory.
I'm sorry, what is
What?
mandatory?
Shall, thou shalt
Oh, thank
not
you.
kill is mandatory.
Okay.
So shall is mandatory. You could basically replace it in legalese. They don't use the word must, but you can replace that with must. And may is permissive. Okay, that's just a general rule that's written into this law as a special definition. Then we go to 119, Section 8, Water Committee. It's one whole paragraph with 2 sentences, the second which is run on. So I would edit that, but we can't now. The Water Committee, heretofore established by the town board, shall continue. Now, you got into discussion last month about the Water Committee, right? But only after the fact of making 2 resolutions and passing them that affected the water district. That's my point. I'll get to the point in a minute. The Water Committee must exist. They shall have the responsibility of recommending to the town board any further rules and regulations for proper administration of the provisions of this chapter. In other words, they must advise you on anything that relates to this chapter and its operation, anything. And the last one, which actually is kind of the most important one tonight, is in which committee shall have the responsibility to review invoices and water charges and fees. We could have gone to them instead of doing all we're doing. Never mind, the other case. And make recommendations to the town board in the event those charges and fees should be modified. So the Water Committee must have made comment and advice to the town board before you could modify the fees. You need to go back and amend that resolution. Amend it to delay it 3 months till the establishment of the Water Committee. The Water Committee review the pending fee schedule instead of an absolute fee schedule. I think that would be the best way to deal with this instead of having to deal with me. You know how I like to sue. And the water contract, I have nothing against Marco. I mean, the fact that he's even willing to do it for me is probably amazing. But I don't think you could have approved that without some Water Committee input as well, since he is the water district operator. He's had a 5-year run. I don't think there was any reason to give him a 5-year contract without advice from the Water Committee, which you should have had according to the law. And the last part is who administers, I'll just ask you, it's school day. Who administers this? Administers and enforces this law? Chapter 119. I know most of you haven't read it. Don't answer.
We
Okay.
do.
The provisions of this chapter shall be enforced by the town code enforcement officer in consultation with the water operator. The water operator is a contract agent. He's not an agent of the town. The CEO administers and enforces this chapter. And he must attend the meetings. It doesn't say he must attend the meetings, but the CEO shall, as in must, report to the board monthly about operation of the water system, period. End of conversation. Not the water operator, the CEO. Now, our CEO said that was backlot, I know. And we spent a lot of money training another CEO to send him somewhere else. But I think Mike should get some compensation and be asked if he'd be at those meetings, which is under the law what he has to do. Of course, if you didn't want that to be in there, the three of you that were on the board shouldn't have passed it. Okay? And I'm glad you sent that out, the letter asking for people to volunteer for the water committee. We need to do that right away. I volunteered already, online, but most people don't do that. Lucky you.
Well, I had it sent out as soon as, right after the last
I
meeting.
appreciate that. That was the thing to do, because did you send out the pending fee schedule?
Yes.
Good, thank you. I'm done.
Any other public comment?
Yes. If they don't, I do. That's why I'm... Okay, anything? Okay, very good. I received, and it's been circulated in our packets this evening, I have two comments. One is from Mr. Nalligan. It is in our packets this evening. The second one is from Amy Thompson, and she's asked that I read this public comment on her behalf. To the Amenia Town Supervisor and Town Board, I'd like to address a few concerns and requests. It has been a while since the town was sued by Silo Ridge to lower their taxes. The public needs to be updated on the status of these lawsuits. Will this be settled sooner rather than later? The town's residents also needs to be aware of the costs that our attorney who is dealing with these issues. The board needs to seriously consider getting feedback from its town residents as to having more gated private properties in our town. If I am not the only one who is concerned about this, the Siland recreational facility being gated and private, there needs to be considerations for a new law which would not allow any more gated private properties. The preliminary planning map shows horse trails, which include the right-of-way from 18 Prospect Avenue and exits onto Prospect Avenue. Prospect Avenue has become a very busy road since the pandemic. There should be a concern about the horses' safety. Town water usage for those new developments should be addressed and made public. If the property located at 113 Depot Hill Road becomes part of the Siland recreational facility or any other development, our water supply tower and cell tower is located on said property and would not be adequate supply more residents with the condition of them today. There will be more questions as far as the municipal water system, wastewater system. Many people do not have access to the televised meetings. Therefore, we need another way to communicate with the public to be aware of these wastewater meetings and other meetings. Residents need to be aware of some roads in Amenia are not town roads. There is ongoing research with the county highway department and attorneys. Until we are updated as to whether these roads are conveyed to the town of Amenia or not, residents on Prospect Avenue and possibly other roads are responsible to the middle of the road. This pertains to the trees, damage, and/or injury to any traffic in front of their properties. Is there anything the town can do to help with being able to park in order to go to the post office? There is a 2-hour parking sign there at the corner on 343. This would be greatly appreciated. I will be waiting for a written response to these issues as to what is going to be done to reach the public with updates, etc. My email, she does state her email. Thanks, Amy Thompson. And those are the only two comments, written comments I received prior to the meeting.
Are you going to read Pat's?
Pat said I didn't have to.
I see.
He is here.
It shouldn't be, it's illegal.
Is there any other public comment? Okay, supervisors report. Highway garage and salt shed. Lobella was given information and will review building the building with the trucks. They will be coming in about 2 weeks with a site plan. CDBG Route 44 sidewalk grant, working with Labella to decide on a date to rebid this project in the spring. Amenia Water District, Supervisor Perotti working with water operator Marco D'Antonio and his engineering company SCBI, applied for a drinking water state revolving fund grant for lead service line inventory funding expenses. As a result, the town of Amenia has been awarded $481,000 for the inventory. If actual work needs to be done on water mains or lines, then we will apply for additional funding available for this EPA and Department of Health required project. Information regarding this project will be sent to all Water District customers in the coming weeks. Town of Amenia website and Channel 22. Administrators for the website are Annette Culligan at extension 105 and Nancy Nowak at extension 108, who can add items to the website as requested by organizations, committees, and boards. Events by organizations, churches, and schools can be advertised on local Channel 22 by sending information to Amenia TV at ameniany.gov. Town of Amenia COVID-19. Amenia Town offices are open Monday through Thursday. Masks are optional and are available in an envelope on the second set of doors. Signing the visitor log is required. COVID-19 test kits are available for anyone who needs one. COVID-19 vaccine information. Vaccine appointments for homebound people can be made by calling 845-486-2555. COVID-19 vaccines and booster shots are available at Amenia Drugs. Call for appointment 845-373-8000. CVS pharmacies go online to schedule an appointment. Visit www.duchessny.gov/COVID vaccine for expanded clinic dates and times and to make an appointment. Town clerk report.
Good evening. I start off by acknowledging receipt and distribution, as I said earlier, of the public comments. Also distributed via email earlier this date is the February 2nd and the February 9th minutes. Presenting to the board this evening for authorization for the supervisor to pay claims, and they are as follows. General Fund, a $181,977.82. Highway Fund, $16,625.10. Amenia Lighting, $1,298.29. Wasake Lighting, $473.76. Amenia Water, $14,077.39. Also, part of our prepaids went to the Amenia Library District, $175,000. Amenia Fire District, $981,735. And the Wasake Fire District, $443,350. So for our total of our abstract, and then you can see that we had our prepaids, but for our bills, it's being $657,802.36. So we're looking for authorization for our supervisor to pay the claims as presented in this abstract.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry,
Damien was first.
Damian?
Just second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Rebellard?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
You gotta be faster than Damian, putting you on that.
No.
As you did hear, that some of our special districts are getting their lump sum of their taxes distributed. For tax collection to date, we've collected $3,071,356.97. To kind of break it down, we're at 49% collection, or if you want to do it by the number of parcels, 904 parcels have paid, with a remaining of 1,111 parcels remaining. Having been remitted to the supervisor prior to this evening was $3,385,961.44. Highway has been paid off, general account has been partially paid, and by, well, Monday's a holiday, so Tuesday I'll be turning the rest of it to Marge, and you guys will be satisfied. So tax collection is in full swing. As you heard earlier this evening, we did receive some applications from the mailing for the water district. We have received now 2. So anyone else that's interested in serving on the Open Water District Committee positions, please continue to send those emails here to the town clerk at ameniany.gov email address. I know I did circulate our last meeting earlier today for minutes, but prior to that, we do have some minutes from 2022 in the beginning of the year.
I'll make a motion that we approve the July 7th, 2022 minutes as corrected.
I'll second that.
Do you want to just put
Or were you
initials?
making a list of?
I have to do them all separately.
Yeah, so can you just put your, if you're going to take my list, can you put the initial?
Sorry. Oh, by who did it?
Yeah, just say
okay.
who seconds it right
Okay,
next to
that
it for me.
was
Just put his
me,
initials.
VD, and Leo.
And I can
seconded.
take the roll calls. How's
Okay,
that
go
sound?
ahead.
We'll work together.
Yep.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
Okay, I move that we approve the July 21st, 2022 minutes as corrected.
Second?
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
I move that we approve the August 4th, 2022 minutes as corrected.
So moved. I mean, second.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Yep.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
I move that we approve the August 18th, 2022 minutes as corrected.
I'll second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman? Revillard?
Yes.
Yes.
I move that we approve the September 1st, 2022 minutes as corrected.
I'll second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
I move that we approve the September 15th, 2022 minutes as corrected.
Yeah, I'll second. Sorry, I got
Supervisor
distracted.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
I move that we approve the October 6th, 2022 minutes as corrected.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
I move that we approve the October 10th, 2022 minutes as corrected.
Yes. Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
I move that we approve the October 20th, 2022 minutes as corrected.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
I move that we approve the October 25th, 2022 minutes as corrected.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
I move that we approve the November 3rd, 2022 minutes as corrected.
Second.
Okay, Damien. Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
I move that we approve the November 17th, 2022 minutes as corrected.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
Okay, are you guys ready for the December minutes that we had distributed quite a while ago? A month ago.
Keep
Okay,
going.
so I move that we approve the December 1st, 2022 minutes.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
I move that we approve the December 15th, 2022 minutes as presented.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
Do you want to do reorg and?
Oh,
Jan?
reorg, did you have a
Did you
chance
guys
to look at the
reorg
reorg?
and-
Looked at it yet, but
Okay.
other people may have, so.
Yes.
You, everybody but Leo's looked at them.
Did you
There
look
were
at the reorg
corrections
one?
on that.
Those were in the last packet, right?
Do
And
you want
she-
to do them at the next meeting, January and February at the next meeting, or are you
fine.
ready? It's up to
I'm
you guys.
ready.
I think we should, well, there are corrections that were made. I don't have them in front of me, but you did make the corrections.
Yes.
And they did look correct to me. You guys want to go ahead and do the reorg? Okay, let's do the reorg.
I trust you, Vicki.
Okay, I did look, and she made all the corrections on that last batch. So
That was the
I
January 1
move
and 19.
that we approve the January 1st, 2005, January 5th, 2023 reorg minutes as corrected.
I'll second.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revlar?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know that we've done the 19th, January
The
19th.
December and the January were,
We had done.
those two were together.
Yeah. I looked at them, I thought they were all right as they were presented. Anybody else see any corrections?
You're talking about January or February?
19th.
January
Oh,
19th.
January 19th.
So, does anybody remember making corrections?
No,
Okay.
I mean, they seem fine.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the January 19th, 2023 minutes as presented.
Second.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
And Revlar?
Yes.
And then our last meeting you guys have today, so we'll do them at the next meeting.
Excellent.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
And thank you, everyone, for being patient with those housekeeping matters. And because everybody was so good, I'm going to give you guys an insight scoop on what's going on here in town. We got Girl Scout cookies coming here to the town hall. Every year, the Girl Scouts have, sell their Girl Scout cookies in a door-to-door manner. Well, they've asked us to use our lower parking lot. So they'll come through, you can do the drive-through and get your on-hands cookies. They're going to be available here April 23rd at the Amenia Town Hall between the hours of 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. I should say 10 until they sell out. So be here at 10, support our local troop of our Girl Scouts.
I'm sorry, that's pickup and you order them beforehand?
You don't,
or can
okay,
get
if
them-
you want to order them beforehand, I know that some of us here are sharing the links online, or if you
Okay.
have a young friend that I know somebody, my neighbor's selling them, so if you're interested, you can pre-order, or if you want to just take the chance that when you come through the drive-through, they have your favorite flavor.
Okay.
And what is the time again?
It's going to be from 10 a.m. till 1.
And that's a Saturday, I assume.
No, it's a
It's a
Sunday.
Sunday.
Oh, that's Sunday.
So
That's-
right here at the
yeah.
town hall, they'll just be outside, just
Saturday is Earth Day.
it's like a McDonald's
right.
drive-through.
Drive-through.
But if you don't think you can wait until April 23rd, they are going to be at the Cumberland Farms here in Amenia from 9 a.m. until noon. The same troop 10204. So it is that time of year, and
I'm sorry, the same day?
no, in March 19th. But
March
that's at
19th.
Cumberland Farms. They asked that I share that for you.
Thank you.
So let's get our cookie on.
I don't want to seem unduly cookie focused, but
That concludes the town clerk's report for tonight. Did you want me to read other reports for you?
Well, could we appoint our volunteer?
So you guys had an opportunity this evening to go into executive session prior to all of our friends joining us to interview for our enhancement committee. Were you guys ready to make an action on that?
sure.
I
Yes.
move that we appoint Lauren Was to the Enhancement Committee.
Second.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
Congratulations and welcome, Lauren.
And could you do the reports?
Sure. So in
Can I
our,
just ask before, does she need an email? Does enhancement get emails?
No, they don't.
So how do they communicate?
The way you always communicate, you call
It's
them or
not
text them.
Legal to communicate outside of town. If you're doing town business, you're supposed to use a town
You're telling
email.
them to come and plant flowers, Vicki.
They are going to have to meet. They have to discuss their budget
Well, if
from
they
year
need
to
an
year.
email, we'll get them
They
an
don't have
email.
a chair.
But historically, they have
Well,
not.
to get a chair, they need to communicate, and to communicate, they need a town email.
Right.
Well, then we'll get them emails.
Just let
But
me know.
historically, nobody's ever used them. But if you want them to have emails, we'll have emails.
I think they should have emails.
Okay, so Damien, they're going to have emails. I'm going to do some fun reports. In our packets this evening and distributed also prior via email, we've all can acknowledge receipt of the January SCBI Environmental Services Report. It does indicate the gallons used as well as our customer calls, water line markouts, emergency response and repairs, and any other projects that SCBI Environmental Services completed for the month of January. Also in our packets, you're going to find the January Building Department report. Does indicate that the total number of title and CO searches, fire inspections, and building permits. The Building Department income totals $12,671. You'll also note on the bottom that there were 4 violations issued during the month of January. Attached is the payment detail that they've submitted. Also acknowledging receipt in just our packets this evening is the highway report that is dated this date. Winter has been great thus far and not used much salt and sand. We have touched up on our dirt roads with a few with the grader. On colder days, we worked on painting the frames of the trucks and doing some maintenance. The last 2 weeks, we've been out mowing, cutting, and chipping our brush along the roadways and enjoying warmer days while we can, and that was submitted by Megan Chamberlain, our highway superintendent. And if there's any other reports.
And then the operating imbalance.
Also acknowledging receipt and circulation prior to the meeting via electronic means, because I don't have it in my packet, but I know we got it electronically, is our operating statement and our balance sheets for the month of January of 2023.
Okay, we don't have a Recreation Commission report, so are there any other committee reports?
Well, I will say for Recreation that they are having a big event on the 21st, is it, Vicki?
Correct. Yeah, Tuesday.
I'm sorry?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, the 21st. They're having a meeting with the landscape architect that was hired for Wassaic Park, and also people from various environmental groups that are interested in improving the Wassaic Creek as it runs around the park. So if anyone's interested in attending and seeing what's going on and voicing their opinion, that will be here at Town Hall at 7, I believe.
Is that posted on the website?
And it is posted on the website, right? I saw it. I think I
Yes.
saw
There's
it,
going to
yeah.
be an article in the Millerton News about it?
Oh, there was, I saw it, yeah, yesterday.
Can I do? I'll be very quick. Hi, I'm Charlie Miller, the chair of the Housing Board. Actually, so the Northeast Millerton Working Group is, which is part of the Tri-Town Coalition, which Amenia is as well, is having an expo on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, so the 18th, 19th, and 20th, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So they have taken a small little mini grant that they've gotten and done some research, and it's going to be presenting different affordable housing options that people can come and see. There's going to be displays, and there's going to be refreshments on Saturday. So
Where is that?
it's going to be at the Millerton Library Annex.
At the annex?
Yes, ma'am. Let me get back to my notes.
And what time again, Charlie?
From 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Okay.
Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, but on Saturday there's refreshments. So I think that's when the main sort of event is going to be. And those other times you can just walk through the displays that they have there. And they also have a, they've put together like a brochure that we'll distribute to the town board as well electronically. To go back to wastewater, I just want to give you guys an update. Our next phase is probably map plan and report. The wastewater committee reached out to a number of engineers to put together a proposal for that work. Ty and Bond, who did our preliminary engineering report, is bogged down with other work, so they couldn't even put together a proposal for this next phase until next month. We've gotten responses from the engineers who did the Pauling map planning report recently, as well as Red Hook. So we should have those proposals probably by the beginning of next week, and we'll be sending those off to the town board after we review them. In my discussions with both of those engineering groups, I was very impressed. These are people who have done this frequently and are very well versed in it.
So you'll have 3?
We're hoping to have 3. I'm still waiting to get another engineer to be able to give us a third report. Because there's so much money out there, all of these engineering groups are doing tons of work for a lot of different towns. So we will try to get 3, but right now I know I'll have 2.
Aren't engineers professional service?
They are professional service, which I'd
So we're
imagine
not
sort of
required to
fall
have
into the
3, but it
same
would be
as
nice to
like, you
have
know,
3.
our water operator, and that, you know, we don't necessarily have to have, but we would like to have as many as possible because it's helpful, right? Like, the more you get, the better you understand numbers as well as possibly questions that you have for them. We, over the summer, after 3 tries, were awarded an engineering planning grant of $17,600. We have to put in paperwork for that, and I'll work with the supervisor over the next week or 2 to get all of that. That will go to reimburse us for the money that was spent on tie and bond to put together that engineering planning report for the wastewater. So, and then for housing, we put together a grant application for Dutchess County for $150,000 to go towards the purchase of an affordable housing property. I think we've had these conversations over the last week anyway regarding needing to allocate ARPA funds to make up the remaining portion of that purchase price. So I wanted to stand here if you guys have any questions so that I could possibly answer them now, or maybe amongst yourselves you already have.
There is a proposal in our package, I just
For that,
wanted you to know.
okay.
But he can answer questions.
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
answer
but
any questions
definitely
related to
answer
that.
questions.
This is purely a purchase for affordable housing, so it is under ARPA. ARPA has, you know, 4 main categories of how their money can be spent. And in one of those categories is for affordable housing that has been impacted by COVID-19. I mean, all that money is for COVID-19 impacts. Clearly, the town of Amenia has an affordable housing crisis. Over 40% of our rental households spend more than 30% of their income on housing. And this particular purchase would be for rental affordable housing. It is for a parcel that's almost 4 acres large. It has a vacant, well-maintained, single-family home currently on the property. The town has authorized this parcel to be surveyed, which it is, that survey should be with us next week, as well as an appraisal, and the appraisal has come back to the town too.
Charlie, did you want to discuss the management of the property at all?
Oh yeah, that's really great. So Dutchess County asked how the property would be managed. This also came up when we were revising the workforce housing / affordable housing portion of our local law, which hopefully will be passed next month, which clarifies that the town is not going to be managing anything that falls underneath our workforce housing, affordable housing program. It would be a third-party nonprofit. We have a relationship with Hudson River Housing, and so we have received a memorandum of understanding from Hudson River Housing to be the manager of the property. That is, the money that comes through the Dutchess County Community Block Grant is actually funded through HUD. HUD has very specific guidelines around how you advertise, when you advertise, the communities you reach. Hudson River Housing, that nonprofit, would be responsible for the advertising, for selecting the household who was going to rent this property, managing the leases. They would sign leases with them. We would hire them as agent, the town, and their fee is based on a percentage of the rent roll, which is very common.
Like 7%?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And they would pay all expenses related to the house as well. Because this parcel would be owned by the town, it would be exempt from real estate taxes, which is helpful because that's a decent portion of cost to most housing properties. But then Hudson River Housing would pay for, you know, the gas, the plowing, all of that. Are there any other questions related to that or to this parcel?
Thank you for all your work on
And
this, Charlie.
Dutchess County Planning is actually doing a site visit
Yes.
on the 22nd?
Correct, yes. So, and it's actually their second site visit, from my understanding. They did go to the parcel, but they didn't go inside. And we are meeting them on, which I think is Tuesday, with the property owner to walk through the house.
And there's going to have to be certain approvals, like they're going to do a lead paint survey, for example.
Yes, so Dutchess County has brought up that they, if there is lead paint, which I think would probably be on the exterior of the house, that it would have to be remediated, which generally is enveloping the paint, it's sanding and it's painting over it, honestly. I don't think there's those issues inside the house. I've been inside the house several times. I mean, it's very well maintained.
And they had just talked about some flaking paint, if I remember.
Yes,
right?
they
I mean,
did.
It wasn't
it
like
wasn't
on
tested.
the
It
outside.
clearly, yeah, and that's another thing. It is why affordable housing can be so expensive, because we will have to test for lead paint. And there will be other things, accessibility for the house and things like that. Yeah. And in the budget that we put together as part of this grant application, it did include, itemization of different updates that the house may need.
Based on questions from the from the people that would be giving us the grant, since they had a list.
Yes. And because it's federal money, I mean, it's something that people don't quite get, is that the vast majority of funding that comes for this program, for this or anything else, comes from the federal government. The federal government has a long list of requirements that you have to meet.
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charlie.
Are there any other committee reports?
I have a report from the CAC. We met last night, and we are getting ready to give the annual report that's required for CACs at the Dutchess County CAC EMC Roundtable. We're getting ready to put on an Earth Day celebration that's been headed up by the task force, the Climate Smart Task Force that's a part of the CAC. We want to get a save the date out there for Earth Day, which is Saturday, April 22nd. And it's going to start with a town-wide cleanup day, as we've done in the past, in Wassaic and Amenia are the main focus of those cleanup efforts, but we also have neighborhood groups that are already forming. Yellow City Road has a contingency, and we really encourage you to think about your own roadway and see if you don't have some neighbors who would work together to, at least on Earth Day, have a nice clean road frontage. Or on the rail trail, if you have young kids, that's a perfect project. For kids who want to just clean up the rail trail in the parking lot, that's always a magnet for litter and trash. And it's our first line of visitors. They come and see us, and we don't want it to look like a mess. So we will have a utility trailer parked at the M&T Bank parking lot, and if you will have bags for, if you need contractor bags and gloves, just come to the Fountain Square and you'll find both, and you can go fill your bags and then bring it to M&T Bank, and then we'll make a drive through to Wassaic in the center of town and pick up whatever is there. If you have difficulty with a large item, last year we took a gas tank out of from a car, and we put that in the utility trailer so I can drive by and pick it up on my way to the transfer station, and if it doesn't go to the transfer station, it can go on down to Southeast Auto. So that's a day that if you can help, that would be great. If it's 10 minutes, if it's an hour, if it's 2 hours, that's great. It'll start at 9 and end at noon. So thank you for doing that. Our task force is really focusing a lot of their efforts on a new opportunity from, we think it's going to be 12 to 4 here at the town hall. And we want to bring a repair cafe to our town hall for the first time. So we're working out some of the details, but we already have somebody who can repair things with a sewing machine. There'll be a welder. There'll be some different people who have special skills.
That's still Earth Day?
That's also Earth Day. That's in the afternoon. So you can do one or both.
Cool.
There'll be maybe a sports equipment swap. They're still in the planning phase, so this is just to save the date at this moment. We are well represented. The CAC is well represented on the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee. We're going to be looking at that document as well and looking for opportunities to include incentives for green energy, for making renewable energy a priority here in our town where we can. And we're also working with the Climate Action Planning Institute, which we call CAPI, to do greenhouse gas inventories. And we're really happy that Marge, our bookkeeper, has provided energy audit information all in a spreadsheet. And we've got a wonderful intern from Vassar who's working 4 hours a week to try and help us calculate the greenhouse gas usage emissions that is emanating from our municipality. And then another outside group will be crunching those numbers over the years to see where we can find more efficient emissions, reduce our emissions and be a cleaner community. So whether they think, my guess is we replaced all the windows here with double glazed windows. The upstairs, I believe we weren't able to get that far, right?
No.
So there are ways that we can continue to lower our emissions and our energy costs.
And the LED streetlights made a huge difference, which is great.
Huge.
So thank you to previous board members for that.
Yeah, those paid for themselves in the first year, all the changeover to LED, and now it's just gravy. I mean, we're using a lot less energy from the LED
The
lights.
town hall in and out also is all LED.
Right. Huge savings. And insulation, I mean, way back when we first occupied this building, they made some good energy efficient, and we have a new boiler, a very efficient system. So we're doing well. We want to just keep going. That's all I have.
Okay, I have a very quick report from...
Before we go on.
Oh, please.
Sorry. Point of interest, it's the Bank of Millbrook now, not M&T.
Oh, sorry, did I say M&T?
Yeah, no.
Sorry, it is an old habit.
Yeah, no, it's okay. And I'm
yes.
sorry.
No.
And will that be in conjunction with the Enhancement Committee, the Earth Day?
The Enhancement Committee has traditionally focused on Fountain Square, which historically that's been where we plant and take care of it. So that's a wonderful time to start getting all the old wrappers, candy wrappers and cigarette butts and just clean up that square. And then we emanate and radiate out from there. The CAC has historically focused on Wassaic and done the little downtown and then radiated out from there. But you can do your own street and then, let me know. My number is 845-489-7826, because if you have a large, icky, horrible place that's a typical dumping area with mattresses and carpets and icky stuff, let me know, because the utility trailer this is the time to do it. Tires, we have had tires and they're not fun to get rid of, so the utility trailer is the best way.
I have a very quick report from the planning board. My first meeting is planning board liaison. I walked into a bit of a hornet's nest. There were about 30 people to speak about the Troutbeck master plan and expansion. There were concerns about primarily about the watershed and the impact of the additional guest rooms on the water. I do know that Troutbeck actually got a third-party water engineer to actually come in and double-check the numbers from their engineer, and I think they just received that, so hopefully that'll be posted very soon to maybe make people feel less worried about that aspect. But the public hearing was closed, and the planning board will at some future date vote on that.
Are there any other committee or board reports? Resolution number
30.
adopting local law number X of 2023, amending Chapter 109 of the Code of the Town of Amenia entitled Taxation, Article 2, Section 109-3.1, Maximum Alternative Veterans Exemption Amount. Whereas Resolution Number 25 of 2023 was duly adopted by the Town Board of the Town of Amenia on February 2nd, 2023, introducing local law number X of 2023, amending Chapter 109 of the Code of the Town of Amenia entitled Taxation, Article 2, Section 109-3.1, Maximum Alternative Veterans Exemption Amount, and a public hearing was scheduled to be held at the Amenia Town Hall, 4988 Route 22, New York, at 7 p.m. on February 16, 2023, to hear all interested parties on said proposed local law number X of 2023. Whereas notice of said public hearing was duly advertised in the Millerton News on February 9, 2023, and posted on the town clerk's signboard on February 3, 2023, and the Town of Amenia website on February 6, 2023. Whereas the purpose of this amendment is to increase the alternative veterans exemption levels, which have not been increased since 2008, to combat the effects of inflation. Whereas said local law has been on the desks of the members of the town board, the Town of Amenia, for at least 7 days, exclusive of Sunday, prior to the adoption of this resolution. Where it is hereby determined pursuant to the provisions of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, ANYECL, Section 0101, and its implementing regulations, Part 617 of 6 NYCRR, that the adoption of this local law is a Type 2 action within the meaning of Section 617.5C26 and 617.5C33, and accordingly is of a class action which do not have a significant impact on the environment, so no further review is required. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. The recitations set forth are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. 2, the town board has determined that the enactment of the aforementioned local law is a Type 2 action pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, Parts 617 and YCRR, for which no further environmental review is required. Town Board hereby adopts said local law number X of 2023, amending Chapter 109 of the Code of the Town of Amenia entitled Taxation, Article 2, Section 109-3.1, Maximum Alternative Veterans Exemption Amount, a copy of which is attached hereto and made a part of this resolution. 4, the town clerk is directed to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting and to file said local law with the New York Secretary of State, and I make that motion.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Remillard?
Yes.
Want me to do a tax one?
Sure.
Resolution number 31, right?
Yeah, Cold
Of
War.
2023, Cold War.
Okay.
Adopting local law number X of 2023, amending Chapter 109 of the Code of the Town of Amenia entitled Taxation, Article 2, Section 109-3.2, Cold War Veterans Exemption established. Whereas Resolution number 24 of 2023 was duly adopted by the Town Board of the Town of Amenia on February 2nd, 2023, introducing local law number X of 2023, amending Chapter 109 of the Code of the Town of Amenia entitled Taxation, Article 2, Section 109-3.2, Cold War Veterans Exemption established. And a public hearing was scheduled to be held at Amenia Town Hall, 4988 Route 22, Amenia, New York, at 7 p.m. on February 16th, 2023, to hear all interested parties on said proposed local law number X of 2023. And whereas notice of said public hearing was duly advertised in the Millerton News on February 9th, 2023, and posted to the town clerk's signboard on February 3rd, 2023, and the Town of Amenia website on February 6th, 2023. Whereas the purpose of this proposed amendment is to increase the Cold War veterans exemption levels, which have not been increased since 2008, to combat the effects of inflation, and whereas said local law has been on the desks of the members of the Town Board of the Town of Amenia for at least 7 days exclusive of Sunday prior to the adoption of this resolution. And whereas it is hereby determined pursuant to the provisions of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, 8 NYECL Section 0101 et sec, and its implementing regulations, Part 617 of 6 NYCRR, that the adoption of this local law is a Type 2 action within the meaning of the Section 617.5C26 and 617.5C33, and accordingly is of a class of actions which do not have a significant impact on the environment, and no further review is required. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. The recitations set forth are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. The Town Board has determined that the enactment of the aforementioned local law is a Type 2 action pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, Part 617 NYCRR, Type 2 SECRA, for which no further environmental review is required. The Town Board hereby adopts Local Law Number X of 2023, amending Chapter 109 of the Code of the Town of Amenia entitled Taxation, Article 2, Section 109-3.2, Cold War Veterans Exemption Established, a copy of which is attached hereto and made a part of this resolution. And 4, the town clerk is directed to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting and to file said local law with the New York Secretary of State. I'll make that motion.
Second?
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
I'm on a roll. Can we keep going?
Yes.
By all
Resolution
means.
number 32 of 2023, adopting local law number X of 2023, amending Chapter 109 of the Code of the Town of Amenia entitled Taxation, Article 1, Section 109, Senior Citizens Exemption. Whereas Resolution number 26 of 2023 was duly adopted by the Town Board of the Town of Amenia on February 2nd, 2023, introducing local law number X of 2023, amending Chapter 109 of the Code of the Town of Amenia entitled Taxation, Article 1, Section 109, Senior Citizens Exemption. And a public hearing was scheduled to be held at the Amenia Town Hall, 4988 Route 22, Amenia, New York, at 7 p.m. on February 16th, 2023, to hear all interested parties on said proposed local law number X of 2023. And whereas notice of said public hearing was duly advertised in the Millerton News on February 9th, 2023, and posted to the town clerk's signboard on February 3rd, 2023, and the Town of Amenia's website on February 6th, 2023. And whereas the purpose of this proposed amendment is to increase the senior citizen exemption levels, which have not been increased since 2006, to combat the effects of inflation. And whereas said local law has been on the desks of the members of the Town Board in the Town of Amenia for at least 7 days, exclusive of Sunday prior to the adoption of this resolution. And whereas it is hereby determined pursuant to the provisions of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, 8 NYECL, Section 0101 et sec, and its implementing regulations, Part 617 of 6 NYCRR, that the adoption of this local law is a Type 2 action within the meaning of Section 617.5C26 and 617.5C33, and accordingly is of a class of actions which do not have a significant impact on the environment, and no further review is required. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. 1, the recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. 2, the Town Board has determined that the enactment of the aforementioned local law is a Type 2 action pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, Part 617 NYCRR SECRA, for which no further environmental review is required. 3, the Town Board hereby adopts said local law number X of 2023, amending Chapter 109 of the Code of the Town of Amenia entitled Taxation, Article 1, Section 109, Senior Citizens Exemption, a copy of which is attached hereto and made a part of this resolution. And 4, the town clerk is directed to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting and to file said local law with the New York Secretary of State. I'll make that motion.
Second?
There is an amendment that should be made. There is a small typo in the actual local law. I will point it out. It's in the scale on the income range. If you look at the very last line, well, the second to last line, it says between 41,500 and 42,399. The next line after that is 42,400. It was previously as 42,000. It should have been 42,400. That typo. There should be a motion to amend it to fix the typo, and then we can vote.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Oh, yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
And then on the actual
Motion
resolution,
to
As amended.
approve as amended.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Blackman,
Yes.
Remillard.
Yes.
I'll take the next one because there's a lot tonight. Resolution number 33 of 2023, resolution appointing recreation director. Whereas the Town of Amenia Recreation Commission is seeking to fill a position of recreation director, and whereas the Dutchess County Department of Personnel has determined that the position of recreation director is a non-competitive position in towns with populations less than 5,000 pursuant to civil service law, and whereas the Town of Amenia's population is less than 5,000, and whereas pursuant to the rules and regulations of the Dutchess County Department of Personnel, the recreation director is also able to conduct the duties of summer camp director, providing the applicant satisfies the job requirements. And whereas the Recreation Commission has interviewed 4 applicants for this position and unanimously recommends Catherine Sturk-Grassi as she meets all of the job requirements for both Recreation Director and Summer Camp Director. And whereas the Town Board wishes to appoint Catherine Sturk-Grassi as the full-time Recreation Director with the additional responsibilities of Summer Camp Director at an annual salary of $45,000. Now therefore it be resolved as follows. The recitations above set forth are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. 2, the Town Board hereby appoints Catherine Sturk-Grassi as the full-time Recreation Director with the additional responsibilities of Summer Camp Director at an annual salary of $45,000 commencing March 6, 2023. 3, the annual salary for the position of Recreation Director with the additional responsibilities of Summer Camp Director shall be paid from Recreation Administration PS budget line number 1070201. And I make that motion.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti,
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Blackman,
Yes.
Remillard.
Yes.
I'll
Can I-
read. Go ahead. I
Can
can
I-
read the next one if you
No,
want.
I'll do it
Okay.
because we have to do the transfer of funds before choice words because I need to we need to vote on transferring the money
Oh,
into
before
the
we do that.
account before we can apply the
Well, that makes sense.
approve the contract.
Transfer of funds is next.
There's 2. I guess we could just do them both.
Yeah, we might as well just do them both because one of them is a reclassification that we had to do for the annual audit document. Resolution number 34 of 2023, transfer of funds for December 3rd, 2022. Whereas the town board has the authority to transfer funds when necessary or unanticipated to amend the budget. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund, increasing expense line 97856.01, installment purchase debt for copiers by $3,112, and decreasing expense line 16804.01, central data processing by $3,112 for reclassification by account of copier leases by Comptroller's Office. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board authorize the transfer of said budget lines to process the transactions. I make that motion.
I'll second.
Supervisor Perotti,
Yes.
Councilmembers Doyle,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Blackman,
Yes.
Remillard.
Yes.
Okay, resolution number 35, transfer of funds for February 2023. Whereas the town board has the authority to transfer funds when necessary or unanticipated to amend the budget. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund, increasing expense line 19894.01.057, grant administrator by $11,600, and decreasing expense line 19004.01.049, special items CE contingency by $11,600 for choice words grant writing services contract. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund, increasing revenue line 4089.01 federal aid other by $3,000 and increasing 99019.01 interfund transfer by $3,000 for transfer from American Rescue Fund to Water Fund for SEBI report of environmental assessment and sampling for new wells. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board authorizes the transfer of necessary budget lines to process the transactions. I make that motion.
I'll second.
Supervisor Perotti,
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Blackman,
Yes.
Remillard.
Yes.
Okay, resolution number 36 of 2023. Resolution appointing Town of Amenia grant writer. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Amenia is seeking to retain the services of a grant writer to assist the town with its grant writing effort, including planning and prioritizing grant writing goals, searching and targeting federal, state, and local funding sources for the town's ongoing needs, and to draft grant applications on behalf of the town. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Amenia has obtained a proposal from Choice Words LLC to provide grant writing services for the Town of Amenia in accordance with the proposal annexed hereto and made a part hereof. Whereas the services to be provided by Choice Words LLC to the town constitute professional services which are exempt from the bidding requirements under General Municipal Law, Section 103, and Town of Amenia Procurement Policy. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. 1, the recitations set forth are incorporated in this resolution as it fully set forth and adopted herein. 2, the Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby authorizes a contract with Choice Words LLC to provide grant writing services in accordance with the proposal annexed hereto, made a part hereof, at an amount not to exceed $21,600. The Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute a contract for such services after review and approval by the attorney to the town in substantially the same form as annexed hereto. The Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby authorizes and directs payments for Choice Word LLC services to be paid from the grant administrator budget, line number 1.0119894.01.057, in accordance with the annexed proposal. 5, that the town supervisor, upon consultation with the attorney of the town, is authorized to negotiate and clarify any wording, provided the overall expense and liability of the town is consistent with the provisions contained in the annexed proposal. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion.
Okay.
One of the things we spoke about when we were talking about this was having someone here on the town board be sort of the administrator for this contract.
That would be me.
I just want to make it, it's not in the resolution, it's not in the contract, but what I want to avoid is just having multiple, committees or people, employees, whomever, reaching out to Choice Words directly.
We would have to approve any grant that they did, the town board.
Okay, wait. Okay, that's fine.
If a committee or board or someone wants to do a grant, then we would have to do the final approval before they would
That's
do
great.
it.
All I'm trying to avoid is like committees fighting over the limited bucket of hours that we have with them, and then also
No, they
people
don't have
spending
that
their-
authority, we do.
Okay.
Because it's taxpayer
Just
money.
Making sure.
On a lighter side note, the individual who presented on behalf of Choice Words was just nominated for the Dutchess County Chamber of Commerce 40 under 40, so
Oh,
Hooray. Good for her.
I knew we chose well.
I just heard, so I figured I'd share that with the board.
I have no further
Comments?
discussion.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Repillard?
Yes.
Can I do this guy?
Yes, please.
Well, I hope it's not the whole thing.
No, the easement is attached.
Resolution number
We'll
30.
let Leo read the easement.
You, Leo?
Seems only fair.
Resolution number 37 of 2023, resolution authorizing the Skyland easement agreement. Whereas the Town of Amenia Planning Board received an application from Skyland Commercial Property LLC and for special permit and site plan review approval of a recreation business which includes, among other things, a field and pool house, ice house, warming hut, and tennis, pickleball, and paddle tennis courts, sledding area, ball field, playground, and multipurpose field, supported by associated parking and utilities. The facility. The facility also includes a proposed 8-foot tall fence on an adjoining property along the project's northern property boundary. And whereas the facility will be constructed on a 53 plus or minus acre parcel owned by Skyland, consisting of parcel number 32000-7066-00-910219, situated at 4391 New York State Route 22 in the town of Amenia, Dutchess County, New York site. And whereas on March 23rd, 2022, the Planning Board approved the facility by Resolution Number 4 of 2022, titled Resolution Granting Special Permit and Site Plan Approval for Sideland Recreation Facility, the approval, subject to the grant of certain rights and easements over real property owned by Harlem Valley LLC, the grantor, and situated at 4429 New York State Route 22 in the town of Amenia, Dutchess County, New York, and the grantor parcel, and a previous recorded easement agreement known as the Silo Ridge Field Club Easement Agreement dated May 6, 2016, and recorded in the Dutchess County Clerk's Office's document number 02-2016-3158, the SRFC Easement Agreement. And whereas in accordance with the approval and to provide for vehicular and pedestrian connection between the facility and a private road at the site known as Red Tail Pass and emergency access to the facility, grantor desires to construct a roadway, Sideland Road, over a 50-foot wide portion of the grantor parcel and SRFC easement area, Sideland easement area, generally shown on the plan entitled Proposed Easement Plan, EA-1.0, prepared by VHB Engineering, Surveying, Landscape Architecture, and Geology, PC, last revised on March 8, 2022. That's the plan. And whereas emergency services will be provided to the facility by the town and any and all other emergency services providers, collectively the providers, by and through Sideland Road, and whereas the grantor desires to grant to Sideland an easement for the construction, operation, and maintenance of Sideland Road as defined herein, and grantor and Sideland desire to grant the town and providers certain access rights over Sideland Road. And whereas the Sideland easement agreements annexed here 2 have been reviewed and approved by the town engineer, and whereas the Sideland easement agreements annexed here 2 have been reviewed and approved by the planning board attorney, and whereas the Sideland easement agreements annexed here 2 have been reviewed and approved by the attorney to the town. Now therefore be it resolved as follows: the recitations set forth are incorporated in this resolution as fully set forth and adopted herein. 2, the town board of the town of Amenia supervisor hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute the Sideland easement agreement in substantially the same form as annexed hereto. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that because I have a question. I'm assuming that Sideland is gated from Route 22, and if that's the case, do we need some sort of insurance coverage for any delays that are caused by getting someone to open the gate? I mean, if we're talking about, a rescue situation.
I'm not aware of the gate. That's an issue that I was unaware of.
Well, the rest of the community is gated, and that would allow people, if that road is going to go all the way out to 22, it would allow Amenia residents to get in from that side. So I'm imagining they will have a gate, but it seems to me that we should be sure that either the keys are given to the fire department and the rescue services, or we deal with that legally, because we wouldn't want to be sued because we can't get into the property.
So as a resolution indicates, both the planning board attorney and the town engineer both have reviewed and approved these. These were contingent or conditions of the approval to have these easements granted. I would have to reach out to them and find out if that particular concern has been addressed.
Okay, I just think we should make sure.
So I don't know this at all, but I bet Dawn Marie does. So, I mean, the fire department currently has access to the property because they answer calls there today. And I'm assuming that there is some process in place for them to access the property.
Sure. I'm not in an appropriate position at this time in this seat to answer your questions.
But I would assume
This is something that the planning board and the planning board attorney would be addressing.
I have a question as well. I don't really
person
understand why a private road needs a specific access granted to our emergency services, because we have lots of private roads in Amenia and nobody's granting them specific access. We all know that if you need emergency services, they have the right to go on private roads and perform their services. I just have never seen granting emergency services specific access as spelled out here. I don't understand it, other than maybe a gated community is different from any other community.
Again, this was approved by the planning board.
That's
It's sent to
a
us.
Dave Everett question.
Yeah, these are
So any questions
questions
you have
that
would
would
have
move
to
from the
go to
planning
him.
board.
Well, I just saw this, and I was confused because I've just never seen this on a private road. We have lots of private roads, and here we are putting very specific town emergency service providers, providing them basically an easement, it seems like.
It's just granting them access. It's not.
Granting them
it's just
access.
Granting them access over the easement.
But I just don't understand why that's needed. Why are we even spelling that out?
You'd have to ask Dave Everett. This is something that's
I don't know
already
what
gone through
conditions
the
came up on the planning
board.
board discussions on it.
We're
That
just
was it.
doing our piece of it.
Our piece has been always handed something that's been dealt with in the planning board, and then we're supposed to just rubber stamp it. And I don't know what this, I don't understand why this is being included and put before the town.
Well, should we lay this over until we get an answer from
I
Dave
would.
Everett?
I don't understand. They should have come with some kind of, how did you were just handed this resolution?
No.
I was provided the easements, which I reviewed the easements.
From the planning board.
From the planning board. Now, it was approved by the planning board. It was in their purview to approve them, so they come to us to sign. And the easements are just granting the town emergency access as they're defined in this, in the actual easement. There was only one minor edit on my end with regards to, there's indemnity provisions for the town included in the easement. There was insurance provisions as well, but we were included in the indemnity, but not on the insurance, so I requested that we were placed on both. That amendment was made, and again, approved by John Andrews and by the planning board attorney.
Which is part of the resolution.
So the very
Disagreements
specifics of
have been-
how the conditions of the easement came up, that's going to be questions for the planning.
Have been
planning board.
reviewed by the town engineer, the planning board attorney, and our attorney to the town.
And we were given a site plan that had already been granted. We had to give up 11 spaces in our town parking lot.
That has nothing to do with the resolution at hand. That's
a
the only
separate issue.
discussion we should be having.
I
Is
am
the
not
resolution
comfortable
we're talking about.
not understanding why this is different on their property versus other private roads. If somebody can explain why this is necessary,
Are
then
we in the
I'm
middle of a
happy to
vote?
do that. We haven't yet finished our discussion. She hasn't called the roll.
Calm down, my God.
I'm just, I know, but we're in the middle of a discussion on a resolution, and all of a sudden, there's some other topic. And please don't talk to us. Shout from the audience. It's inappropriate.
If I can make a suggestion, if the board has questions, then we could table the resolution. Then you can provide the questions to me in writing, and then I can forward them off to the planning board attorney for responses, and then we can put this on next
Put
meeting.
it on the March 7th.
Yeah.
But we can't
I'd prefer that.
table if we're in the middle of a vote, can we?
We haven't voted. It was discussed.
No, we would have to finish the vote first,
No, you can
I think.
vote to table a motion right now based on the discussion. That would be fine.
Okay, does someone want to
I'll make a motion.
make the motion to,
I'll make a motion that we table this until we get a couple of questions answered from the planning board's attorney.
and hopefully the discussion will just be on the easement and
It's a
nothing
simple
else.
question. Why is this required when I've never seen it done for any other private road? That's all. Why is it different?
Again, I would request if the
That's
board
a
could just
valid
email them to
question.
me so nothing gets lost in translation, and then I can forward them over.
Okay, I will send it to you written just as I've said it.
Is there a second?
Okay. I'll second it.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Favorlard?
Yes.
And under other matters, we have one more resolution.
Which would be Resolution 38. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we,
Resolution-
I'm
Oops,
so
go ahead.
sorry. Can we, I have a couple of questions for Ian. We can do it in discussion or we can do it before. I don't know. So, regarding this resolution, which is the transfer of, or commitment of ARPA funds, can you characterize for us what this resolution states as you've drafted it in here and what it obligates us to do here?
Sure, so the board was informed that this amount of money needed to be allocated as part of the CDBG grant. And it needed to be allocated by resolution, so that could be presented with that grant for the $150,000 award. So this particular resolution is doing only that. It's authorizing the allocation of $273 of the ARPA funds as required by the CDBG grant application. So it's just allocating those funds. So if the grant fails, then this fails too. The allocation, the funds don't go anywhere. We're not moving funds. Funds aren't being transferred. It's just an allocation. It's a commitment of funds, which is what they're looking for. So basically, if the county's going to grant the CDBG, then the town would be committing these funds along with that for the purchase.
And then the memorandum of understanding between HRH, I had asked you via email if you had a moment to review that, but so just to summarize then, the town would be buying this parcel of land in the town of Amenia. We would then contract out the operation of the rental for affordable housing purposes to Hudson River Housing, our affordable housing partner. And there was a draft MOU included as part of our application to the county.
Correct.
And did you have a chance to, what my concern is obviously that we commit to purchasing this parcel, but then we don't have an operator because we can't agree to the terms of the operating agreement. Because as Charlie indicated, we are changing our law to get out of the direct management of affordable housing, which is how our current law states.
So the MOU, I did have a chance to briefly review this. There are some concerns with this MOU. My understanding is that this is essentially a draft of the MOU, but there are items in here I've gone through, I've had concerns about. Basically, the way this is structured is the town is owning the property, and the town is essentially the landlord on the property, and the management thereof is going to be contracted out. So with that, there are a number of concerns that I think the board should consider, whether or not the board wants to be a landlord, but that's a concern for the board, and some of the implications that go with that, both liability and financial. There were things mentioned in here that it talks about the Town of Amenia Agreement and Management Plan. I don't know exactly what that is. I
think we have an agreement with HRH.
Okay, and a management plan?
I don't.
It was something I didn't know of. Some of the spending in here is without owner approval, owner being town. I don't think that that's appropriate. I think the town should have some say on that, particularly since it owns the property, and there should be compliance with the procurement policy. There should be there should be approvals for from the board on that, in my opinion. This authorizes them to hire independent contractors.
So I mean,
So there's some stuff in here. There's things in here, the board, I think there should be some discussion on the board as to what this MOU really does legally and what some of those implications are. But again, this is...
Assuming the rosiest outcome after negotiating, because HRH has been a good partner in the past, so assuming we can come to agreement on the terms of an MOU, are there, outside of the MOU, other, I don't know that we own any property in town where we are then leasing it out, other than, I guess you could argue, the cell tower.
By comparison, that agreement, that agreement is kind of similar in this, but yet everything in that agreement is on town board approval. So there are stark differences between that and this. But a cell tower rental is also vastly different than renting a house. Again, these are board decisions, and if there's discussions to be had on that, I'll entertain, and we can discuss that, the legalities of that, implications of that.
My understanding, though, is that the percentage is fairly standard, the percentage they charge.
Yeah.
And I also think that we needed this to apply for the grant, but I would imagine that if we purchased the property, we could make an arrangement with a different not-for-profit if it really came to an issue where we couldn't negotiate a contract successfully with Hudson River Housing.
Well, the county required that we submit some indication of our management plan. If we were going to be contracting it out, then we would submit that agreement or whatever agreement we have with HRH. So they did that. But yeah, you're right. It is part of the requirement of the grant. I was a little surprised to learn that during the application for the grant that we stated to the county that we intended to use ARPA funds for the balance. Obviously, that's something we're discussing right now, but that was not the case.
I think that may have been their suggestion, but I don't know. I mean, Charlie would know better than I.
Okay. So I guess my only concern about, I've just concerns about things that could possibly go wrong to derail the intent of what we're allocating this money for, right? So if the county, which is about to do their inspection on the 22nd, they raised some concerns about some prior aspects of the application that we put in that stated that, we may have a future intention to use this parcel for wastewater. They were concerned about the optics of having affordable housing so proximate to wastewater, but then also the clawback that Charlie had addressed previously, if we change the use of this parcel in the future, they would take the grant money back. Can you describe that a bit?
So my understanding is...
It's 15 years, I think.
Yeah, there's basically a restriction, deed restriction, that if they're going to loan this money, that it's going to be used.
15-year lien,
It's a
right?
15-year lien, and if you change the use, there is a potential clawback, just like with any grant, right? All grants have all quid pro quos to them, and if you don't follow them, then you're subject to potential clawbacks and rescissions on those grants. That's why when you have grants, you need to really follow them to the T. In one of the communications that was provided to me, there was reference to that by the administrator of the grant. So that, yes, that's a potential, if there's a change of use, that there could be a clawback.
May I?
Sure, yeah. Unless there are objections, I don't.
Is that okay? I just wanted to address the potential clawback because in discussions with Dutchess County, because they had seen that this was a property that was also identified for use for wastewater. By the way, if you're not familiar with the property, which I think that I had included some photographs and things that went back and forth, this single-family home is located on the road. It's a 4-acre parcel, and the siting of what in the future could be the wastewater is on the other side of the parcel. It's on the south side versus the north side. That in the future, should wastewater come about and this still be a site for that, that we would approach Dutchess County with subdividing the parcel and then have the discussion about any potential clawback. And if there was a clawback, the budget for that wastewater project would already incorporate purchase of land that would be used as payment for the clawback if it happened within the 15-year period of the lien. Does that make sense? But to me, right now what we are addressing is affordable housing, and although this is a parcel that's been identified and this is a way that we can purchase it, and it would be the town, so if it could be used for that in the future, that would be great, but that is something for tomorrow versus today.
And there's also additional room on the parcel along the road for additional affordable housing. In other words, it's a sloping parcel, there's the house, there's a driveway, and then there's
Yeah,
land.
there's definitely more land that could be developed for this. And to address the concerns of putting a wastewater facility close to any housing, much less be it affordable or market rate or anything else like that, what is being proposed under the wastewater plan is not a sludge treatment site, open pit, anything like that. It is a system that treats the effluent that is subsurface, that is frequently sited next to residential properties that use it as a means of treating their effluent as well.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Ty and Bond showed us an image of the system installed like in the middle of the courtyard, basically, of
Yeah, exactly.
an apartment complex.
The system for the wastewater that is being proposed is used in many rural communities. It is what is being proposed for Millerton Northeast. Their particular parcel that is town-owned that they are using is, the siting of it is less than an acre. They actually just went through their secret process. There is no negative environmental impacts whatsoever. Noise, smell, light emissions, nothing.
So I did see your response to the county where you described, the proposed future wastewater and how that, was not, they did still, I believe, they would still consider that a change of use if we did do that in the future, and then.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So, okay, so these ARPA funds came in, just so the public knows, we received, what was it, roughly $450,000?
About 480.
480, about $480,000 as part of the American Rescue Plan Act, which was distributed to states, and then they divvied it up among is that right, Victoria?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So this was just received by the town at the tail end of last year, I believe. Is it all with us, or are we still waiting another distribution?
No, we have everything.
We have everything, and we're not getting any more, right?
No,
Okay.
not that I know of.
So I guess
More would be good.
More would be great. I guess the general thing that I would want to have a conversation with as a board is, because we haven't certainly done that publicly for the benefit of the folks out there and the folks in the room, but what is the highest and best use for these funds? We're talking about taking roughly half of these funds today to purchase a parcel, which has a one-family house on it. Although it could be developed, we're budgeting for the purchase of the house as is, with some, I believe, in the budget that the county asked for as part of the grant. We had some minor renovations and repairs, but no building of new buildings or anything on that as part of this. Do we feel, as the town board, that this is the highest and best use for this? The affordable housing crunch in our town is real and is severe. But so is the state of our water district. And I know, Victoria, you had mentioned in the past that, we could also use these ARPA funds for the water district. So as a group, if we could just have a quick discussion, we have heard from our water operator that there's roughly $1 million to $1.5 million in repairs and capital needs that our water district has. This is completely above and beyond, so it's separate from the lead service line work that needs to be done.
Which we used ARPA money for at the last meeting. We approved ARPA money
We did.
for that at the last meeting.
His estimate was about $250,000 to do but we did just get a grant to cover that.
The inventory.
Right, the inventory part of it. So I mean, if we commit the remaining balance or half of our ARPA funds to this acquisition of this parcel, which would only happen if the county approves it as a viable site for affordable housing. Potentially in the future, we might be able to use it for other purposes if the town owned it. But is that, I mean, from my perspective, it's like just using a family household budgeting. If we know we have $1 million debt we have to pay to the water district, and we don't yet know how we're going to fund that, and we have a current obligation to the folks who reside in that, are these funds, which are basically, it's like winning the lotto. It's like if you have credit card debt and a mortgage and you win $10,000 in the lotto, I mean, the wise thing to do is to pay down your debt, not to go put a down payment on a boat.
Yeah,
right?
but no one does that in America.
I know.
But more to the point, well, let me say one thing first, Charlie. More to the point, the housing board will receive more money from Silo when they get to their 50% tipping point, which they may have already reached, but that hasn't been defined or clarified yet. But there is other money coming from there, and that money is allowed to be used for wastewater over water. So that's money that would basically be the same or higher value than the ARPA funds would be using.
We could transfer money from the housing trust to the water district?
Charlie, why don't you?
Yeah, I believe it is in the law that those funds can be used for water and wastewater, and I believe that those provisions were maintained in the amendments as well. So that is a true statement.
Yeah, so the law, which did not change, you're correct, Ian, that established the Housing Trust Fund can really only be used for three purposes: affordable housing, water, and sewer. And the fee in lieu of that's due from the developer in total is a little over $600,000, and we've only received 10% of that. Our next tranche is around $225,000 or so, which should be due either at the end of this year or the beginning of next. So I feel like the ARPA fund usage is really more of a cash timing issue than, and I think you make a very good point, is this the best use of those funds? But we will have funds to replace those theoretically, and not too distant future, and more so, honestly. But now we have this property that is ideal for two purposes, and securing it, I think, is paramount for the town. And the ability of being able to also obtain a $150,000 grant to make that happen, I think, is a unique moment for us.
Yeah, I would also say that that while we're pursuing funding for affordable housing, and that would actually give us affordable housing pretty quickly, because there really isn't much that needs to be done to that house. I think the other piece is that there is room for more affordable housing, and most importantly, that was the only site out of 15 that the wastewater committee looked at that was suitable, that could hold the system, that was close enough to town and various other issues. So I think that in the past, when we've had an issue with moving out on wastewater, it seems like most of the time that's been an issue of not holding the property, not owning the property when we pursued that. I mean, there are cost issues obviously too, but there's also federal infrastructure money that presumably would make that more doable this time. But if we don't hold that property, then, there's no way we can move ahead with that. The 2 or more years that the wastewater committee's been working on it will have been in vain, and we'll kind of make the same mistake that Amenia's made many times in terms of not really paying attention to its future and kind of missing the objective because you're not willing to, use monies that we have. So that's why I think since we won the lottery, this is a really important use for that money.
So, sorry, were you going to say something?
I will, but you can.
So I mean, I think it's a great plan because it is the fact that that site was identified by the engineers for the wastewater as a viable site. Long term, it's a great plan, but obviously we're very far away from that. And so in the near term, it's what it is. It's the acquisition of a parcel of a one-family house, with the idea that we're going to, rent it or lease it out essentially to HRH, and they're going to sublease it to tenants. They are building housing in town, as you know.
Yes,
right?
but this will happen much more quickly. I mean,
Right.
This house will be available much
This
more
house
quickly
is,
than that.
it exists today. It's not a greenfield build, but that was going to be my only question is if we were looking at this from a affordable housing perspective, is this a candidate for them to acquire with, in a near term, some agreement to
You mean you're talking about with Hudson River Housing
Yeah.
to develop it?
I know you've struggled getting them to make decisions quickly in the past. I know that, but
It is a viable site for additional development. It's in a neighborhood that, it's Lake Amenia Road. It's in a neighborhood that has other houses. It's a walkable distance to town. There are a lot of reasons that this site is really great for affordable housing as well as for future use for wastewater. But everything else falls apart without this. And I think the affordable housing part of this alone is worth the money we're spending, especially since we're getting a grant for half of it, half of the cost of getting this house. But in addition to that, I think that it can be used for more housing, and I think the fact that it has a future purpose for us is pretty much all the argument we should need, because again, we haven't been able to do wastewater because we didn't have any place to put it. I mean, the last time with Darlene, we were able to do that, but it required a referendum to buy the land, and here we have grant money for it.
would this still need permissive referendum?
So what I was going to say before, part of the funds are coming from a reimbursable grant, which means the funds need to be sourced by the town. How they're
The 150,000 that
Correct.
we would, okay.
Correct. So how they're sourced will dictate whether or not a permissive referendum would be required. If they are sourced from surplus funds, then there would not be a requirement for permissive referendum. If they were sourced almost by any other means, then it would. You can finance it, but if it extends beyond 5 years, requires a permissive referendum. If you finance it and it's less than 5 years, it would not. So there are ways that you can avoid the permissive referendum.
Just to explain for the folks out there, if we're applying for a $150,000 grant, CBDG requires that the town, put up the money first and then get reimbursed. When is it? On completion, or when do they, what's the reimbursement?
Do you know that, Charlie?
I don't.
Excuse me.
There's not a reimbursement. This grant will be awarded at the end of March, and it will be funded through HUD at the later part of the summer. So there is no reimbursement. So we would enter, should we get the grant and you guys pass this, well, you pass this resolution, we pass the home. There's so many different points on this that it could fall apart, but let's say, you know, you pass this resolution, the home inspection by Dutchess County goes well, we ultimately get the grant from Dutchess County, we would then go into contract, negotiate a price and go into contract with the seller that would then close when the funds were made available at the end of the summer through Dutchess County. So there is no reimbursement.
So if the funds are available and they're in our account, then we could authorize the purchase.
Or authorize the close. We would enter into contract with a 10% contract deposit, which is typical in New York, to purchase the property.
We wouldn't, we can't sign a contract if the money's not in the account. That we can't do.
But we have a commitment. I mean, any project in New York, when you have firm commitments and you're able to enter into contracts, or else you would never be able to enter into a construction contract. I think we're putting the heart, I mean, granted, we're
We are
getting
down
into
the line.
weeds.
Yes, I
We're
agree.
down the
We're
line
down
a
the
lot.
line a
I mean,
lot.
Today, we're just talking about the actual passing a resolution that allows for the use of these funds for this particular purpose.
So we can find out whether we get the community development block grant.
Yes.
But just to be clear, I'm so sorry, there is no reimbursement on this because I was told that.
No, this is not a reimbursable grant that you put that money up first and then you get the money back. No, it is for the purchase of this property, and the funds will be made available at the end of the summer. There is a time
Prior to us purchasing the property?
No, it would, so when you go into purchase of property, generally has a closing date. You sign a contract and you have a closing date someday in the future. When we negotiate the contract of sale for this property to purchase it, our closing date would be contingent on us receiving the CBD grant funds at the end of the summer. So our closing date would be July something, on or about July, contingent on receiving these funds.
Okay, but and the county will distribute those funds to us prior to closing?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I mean, we couldn't close without those funds. Those are a portion of our purchase price.
Okay, I was told it was a reimbursement.
No.
Right, so that makes it a lot simpler. Okay, so look,
For the record, Damien, I too was
Go ahead.
under the impression that it was a reimbursable grant. If that's not the case, again, I haven't had this stuff long
Well,
enough to...
usually the CDBG grants are reimbursable. I mean, this is, since the money is coming from HUD, that might be, you know, the difference maker.
Again, to Charlie's
But
point...
any CDBG grant that the town has been awarded has been reimbursable.
I'll just give my clarification on that. In the application that we submitted for these funds, we made clear that we needed these funds to consummate this purchase. Dutchess County then made it very clear, well, this is the timeline for you to get these funds. So you need to make sure that your project will work with that. And so that's always been my understanding.
And the reason that this had to come together very quickly is that the panel that selects the grant winners is meeting like the 27th, and they only meet once. So if we didn't have this,
They're not meeting till March 3rd.
I thought they were meeting on the 27th, or is
Victoria's
that
on, she's an
I'm-
on.
oh, you're on it.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
They're not meeting to the 3rd.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I don't really have any more other questions. My initial reaction to this was just that we have such a tall mountain to climb on the water district when it comes to finding funding. If we need to borrow money to address any of the critical capital infrastructure challenges that we're facing in the water district, then the cost of financing and repaying that financing will be borne by the folks in the water district, not by the whole town. So if we know we have that upcoming debt or bill we're going to have to pay, and we're going to take these funds that we have today and use them for something else. I just want to be sure that we, as the town board, have some plan or some commitment to address, that upcoming need in the water district, because this is the best intentions behind speculative effort, whereas that is a real thing that we need to do regardless of anything else.
Right, and both the water district and wastewater are in line for federal infrastructure money that comes from the state. So those are already, I mean, the reports were already submitted. We were already put on a list. We don't know where the cutoff is on the list. We may not be high enough, but we're that far along, and that's a significant amount of money compared to this, towards the water district and towards moving ahead with wastewater.
Yeah, the major difference is that this is money we have in the bank today, and all of the other monies that we were talking about coming at some point in the future are all speculative. Even that payment from Silo, is.
It's fair to throw in the mix here that the water district issues are compliance issues.
Oh, sure. We have to do that regardless. We're going to spend that money, 100%. So, I mean, that's again, going back to your household finances, like if I knew I had debt to pay, I would use my funds to pay that down before embarking on something new. But, if the board is confident that we can use future monies that we gain to address the critical issue we have in the water district, then, it does make sense.
Okay. Did we read this yet?
No.
No, we're
did
waiting
not.
for you.
I mean, my
You're
only-
waiting for me. Go ahead, Ian.
My only expression of concern to the board is whether, and we haven't really talked about it a lot, is whether or not the board really wants to be a landlord, having someone manage it, versus being able to get that to another entity. And that might be something the housing board can look into to see if there's ways to do that, because a municipality being a landlord, doing a lot of landlord-tenant law, that concerns me.
I don't think, I would imagine that Hudson River Housing would be open to that. They have a single house in Millerton, I know, that they own and manage, and that also might be a way to replenish some of this money, because it's possible that they would purchase just the land that the house sits on from us. So that is certainly something we can explore.
That would be like if that MOU that we had from them stated that,
An option to purchase.
yeah, that they would just, the town would subdivide it, we would acquire it, subdivide it, they would take it. That would be so much more comfortable with that.
Well, I mean, yeah, again, but that doesn't, that MOU is, we're not committed to that MOU. It's a memorandum of understanding that's telling us what they're willing to do, but we're not making that agreement until we're further down the road. I mean, we don't own the property yet. We don't have a house to rent. And that agreement would be made at that point. I totally agree with you. I think it would be way better if they took ownership of the property.
In general, I would say that my challenge with this entire process has been like digging through emails that have gone back and forth between the county that, we as a board have not discussed this until right now. And so, understanding that we're under a deadline here because this, but it would be far better for us to have these kind of important discussions as a board, in public, on TV, as opposed to, late. Oh my God, it's almost.
Yes, well, I
Almost
totally.
breakfast time.
Wow.
Who's buying? I totally agree with you that it would be much better for us to have discussions like this at the beginning. I mean, like even the ARPA funds, not the ARPA funds, even the infrastructure funds, we applied for stuff that we actually had engineers' reports to apply for, but there wasn't a discussion with the board. I mean, the board approved hiring the engineers, but there wasn't a sort of bigger discussion about priorities. But again, the reason that we have not been able to move ahead on wastewater for 62 years, as far as I know, is that no one is willing to take that leap. And I think until there's a little bit of faith in the future, or a little bit of willingness to take a little bit of risk, that nothing will ever happen. And people keep complaining about the same stuff in Amenia they've been complaining about for as long as I've lived here. And I think it's time to see what we can do to kind of move the needle. So that's my feeling about this. I think that it's completely justified just for the housing part, but I think it also gives us an opportunity with wastewater to move ahead in the future, which we have not had in the past.
And I want to thank Charlie, who has been here at practically every town board meeting, giving us updates on both the housing board comments and the wastewater. He has been here to answer our questions, sat through the entire meetings, chaired these things, written grants, got the CDBG grant all organized, all by himself. I don't know, we've given him very little help, but the town board has to meet him halfway. He comes here, he's there to answer our question, he's done all the work, he knows it perhaps better than any of the rest of us. And if you didn't ask him, your questions then, how is it going to be managed? I didn't like that MOU, I need to look at it further. He's been here. This wasn't a surprise tonight. We finally put it in a resolution because he wrote the resolution.
Well, no, Vicki,
he wrote it for us to look at.
Yeah, Vicki, I'm just saying to have the discussion on TV in public. That's what I'm saying.
I think that's why he's here.
No, I know,
Public
and
TV,
he's been great
televised.
responding to questions, but we just got this resolution, this didn't come up, this wasn't available to us at the last meeting, for example.
No, but
right,
all
so-
of the elements have been building over time. Those elements didn't happen today. It happened
So we could submit
over
our
time.
questions. We could table this and submit our questions.
But then we won't be eligible for the grant.
Let's try.
Unless we meet again before the 3rd, which I don't. Do we meet again before the 3rd?
I think we meet on the 2nd, isn't it?
Yeah, so that won't
March
work.
2nd.
Unless we want to have a special meeting, but,
I've got all my questions answered.
well,
I mean,
do you
I
have
think
other questions?
there's-
I mean, do you have other questions from Charlie?
No, Charlie, it's been amazing, by the way, with answering questions. And I do have questions because going back to what Damien said, it's not, I do have some questions, but I'm still bothered by these compliance issues for the water district, and I'm very concerned about that. But because that is, we have no choice. We can't vote on that. We have to do that.
Right.
And we have to have the money to do that. And like Damien said, we can't just dump this on the water district, people who are in the district. That's a big deal, big number.
Well, I understand that, and, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So I had, and as far as the future is concerned, I haven't looked into the zoning quite as much on that lot. And of course, there could always be amendments, I suppose.
I don't think we have a survey yet, right?
Yeah.
Well, the surveyor left for Florida without finishing his work and various other things, but it is coming.
So it would be important to see that.
Well, we know basically the outline of the property. I mean, if you're talking about topo, I mean, that's on the Dutchess County side. I think that's just that's a requirement before purchasing it, certainly.
Right.
But in terms of...
This resolution is simply an allocation of funds.
Right.
There's nothing in the resolution that says it's anything about purchase.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
look, but it means if we allocate these funds, we can't use them for something else, right? Basically. And
Right.
if we allocate them, they're allocated until this,
If you're allocated, if you get the grant, then
Right.
there's
They're
scope.
allocated, right. I guess the other thing I would say is that the water district problems have happened over many years, and there's been a lot of deferred maintenance, and, that may be an issue of being concerned about people in the water district getting angry, I don't know, but it isn't like this is a surprise either. I mean, the problems there have been very obvious, and I've heard complaints for the 20 years I've lived here about the kind of water people are getting and their water pressure and all that stuff. And we know that the issue with the wells, the pump house, the tank, all of those things have been reported previously, and no one has moved on them. So while I don't think there's any way around that, I also think that it shouldn't exclude other efforts, because, you know, the board basically hasn't done anything about it for 20 years. So, you know, I mean, I think at this late date, you know, our predecessors on the board bear a good amount of responsibility for that, and we have to solve a lot of things in a very short period of time, because no one paid attention, or no one wanted to pay attention to the very real needs. I mean, we shouldn't be having to do this now. It should never have gotten to this point.
Like Victoria said, this is just a resolution for the authorization of these funds. The board has not authorized the purchase of this property, which will be another resolution. So there will be many times for you to get off the bus. We just want to get to the next stop. So
that was a nice metaphor, Charlie.
just to bring some comfort. I think you're all bringing very good points. I mean, the water, which is the reason why I was trying to get people to volunteer for the water committee. It has massive, it's more than $1 million. It's 10 times that. There will need to be a significant funding structure related to, and timeline and schedule for all of the items that need to be addressed with the water district. But this is just allocated. You're not even authorizing the purchase of this property.
Understood. I was just talking about, you know, assigning these funds and not being able to use them for something else. So I think I don't have any further comment or questions.
Anyone else? Vicki, Brad, Victoria?
Have any questions?
Okay, does that mean I get to read it at last?
Yes.
Okay, and I don't have any water left. We'll see how
You've
we do.
been sitting here with bated breath, waiting
Oh my
for
God,
you
I'm
to
so
read.
excited. Okay, resolution number 38 of 2023, authorizing the allocation of $200,273 in American Rescue Plan Act funds for the acquisition and rehabilitation of 74 Lake Amenia Road as a requirement of the town's application for the Dutchess County Community Development Block Grant. Whereas the town of Amenia is experiencing severe affordable housing crisis, which was impacted and accelerated by COVID-19, and whereas 45.9% of renters and 29% of homeowners in Amenia are cost burdened, paying more than 30% of their income for housing, and whereas the Town of Amenia Housing Board, after 3 years of researching potential affordable housing sites, has identified a 3.9-acre parcel at 74 Lake Amenia Road, the property, currently consisting of a well-maintained, vacant, single-family home, and whereas the property is large enough to accommodate additional affordable housing units in the future, and whereas to address the town's affordable housing crisis, the town board is seeking grant funds to purchase the property, and whereas the Town of Amenia has applied for $150,000 Dutchess County Community Development Block Grant, the grant, for the purchase and rehabilitation of the property, and whereas awarding of the grant is contingent upon the town board of the Town of Amenia allocating $200,273, the American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds previously awarded to the town to the purchase, funds previously awarded to the town to the purchase and rehabilitation of the property. And whereas ARPA funds may be used for capital expenditures, including land acquisition, construction, pre-construction costs, and operating costs that support eligible COVID-19 public health or economic response, including affordable housing. And whereas the town board determines that it is in the best interest of the town of Amenia to commit $200,273 in ARPA funds for the purpose set forth in this resolution. Now, therefore, it be resolved as follows: the recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted therein. 2, that the town board hereby approves the commitment of $200,273 in federal ARPA funds received by the town for the purchase and rehabilitation of the property at 74 Lake Amenia Road as a requirement to the CDBG grant application. 3, that the town board authorizes and directs the town supervisor to send a copy of this resolution to the Community Development Administrator for the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Supervisor Perotti?
Abstain.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Repler?
Yes.
Okay. We'll have to care of our resolutions at least.
Okay, that was the only other matters we had, town board comments. I wanted to mention that after a long hiatus, the Amenia Fire Company is having a pancake breakfast this Sunday. So
When is that?
anybody who,
Sunday.
Sunday,
This Sunday.
yes.
Sunday?
It's from 8 to 11,
7:30.
7:30 to 11.
Look forward to
So bring
seeing
your
everyone.
appetite.
That's the Amenia Firehouse.
Yes.
Amenia,
Okay, just want to make sure.
36 Mechanic Street. $10. Come on.
There too, it gets confusing sometimes. This Sunday pancake breakfast,
Are there any
okay.
other town board comments?
I'd just like to have at our next town board meeting a status report on where we're at with the Stone Leaf agreement for striping the lot and identifying their cars with a little sticker.
Wait, well, I'm sorry, Vicki, I didn't understand that.
A status on the Stone Leaf parking lot
Oh,
agreement.
okay.
I can give a quick update on it. I have
okay.
followed up. I haven't received a response. I will continue to follow up.
Okay.
Okay, and I will
If we
say,
could get a
go ahead,
response.
and I will say one more thing, which is that I attended a meeting the rec committee set up today to look at the pavilion or the concession stand, as it may be, at Beekman Park, with the woman who's the head of the appropriate Dutchess County Board of Health office. And while she was there, I grabbed her to discuss what was needed for the community kitchen at Town Hall, and she was very helpful and, said that she looks forward to helping us as we move ahead on that project. So I thought that was a kind of good news on both of those.
Super.
Are there any other town board comments? No? Well, then I make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
Supervisor Perosi? Council?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Robillard?
Yes.
Question for you at the end.